Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're plunged into something pretty specific, but really crucial if you ever face it. Proving your documents, like your driver's license, are actually valid when you need them overseas.
Yeah, it sounds simple, doesn't it? Just show your ID.
Right, but it gets complicated fast when you cross borders.
Exactly.
So our mission today, using these sources we've gathered, is to sort of unpack those complexities. We're looking at authenticating foreign documents, especially focusing on, say, a Massachusetts driver's license versus a U.S. passport.
And the big goal is really to map out the process and maybe even more importantly, point you towards where you can find some solid help navigating this bureaucratic, maze, really.
Because honestly, getting this wrong can waste so much time and cause a ton of stress. Our sources definitely hint at some surprising details here.
Oh, for sure. Things like apostilles, certified copies, these terms pop up, and they're absolutely key if you need your documents for, more than just a quick look. Think setting up residency, official admin tasks, that kind of high-level verification stuff abroad.
Okay, let's dive in then. Where do we start?
Well, I think the first hurdle is just understanding that navigating international document rules is almost like living a new language. What works perfectly fine in one country might need extra steps, extra proof, before another country accepts it officially.
Yeah, I can see that being confusing. Like, what about the basics? My U.S. passport or my Massachusetts driver's license, are they treated the same internationally?
That's a perfect question, and it highlights a really key distinction our sources point out. Your U.S. passport. Well, generally speaking, it almost never needs an apostille.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. But why is that? It's still an official doc.
It is, but the thing is, the passport itself is inherently designed as an international travel and identity document. It's issued by the U.S. Department of State, right? The highest authority.
So it's got that international recognition baked in already.
Exactly. Think of it as having its verification built in. If someone asks for an apostille on your U.S. passport, it's almost certainly because they're misinformed. Super rare exceptions might exist, theoretically, but for 99.9% of people, the passport just works.
Okay, the passport is the gold standard internationally. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
But the Massachusetts driver's license, I'm guessing that's different.
That's where things get, let's say, more nuanced, definitely more complex. Your Mass license is great here for driving, for ID.
Sure.
But how it's accepted abroad, that really varies a lot.
So it doesn't have that same automatic international acceptance.
Pretty much. Now, if your main goal is just driving, like you're a tourist on vacation,
Right.
then your U.S. license plus an international driving permit, an IDP usually does the trick.
Ah, the IDP. I've heard of those from AAA.
Yep, AAA or the American Automobile Touring Alliance. It's basically just a translation, recognized in tons of countries, over 150, I think. That's the simple path for short-term driving.
Okay, IDP for driving. But what if I need my license for something else overseas? Like one of the sources mentioned, other official purposes.
That's the critical point. That's where you might actually need an apostille for your Massachusetts driver's license.
Okay, when? What kind of situations are we talking about?
Well, think about situations where a foreign entity, maybe a government office, a bank, a university, sometimes even an employer, needs a highly authenticated copy. They're not just checking if you can drive. They need it as official state-issued proof of your identity or maybe your residency status to meet their rules.
Can you give some examples?
Sure. Things like applying for long-term residency abroad, maybe opening a bank account, registering a business, dealing with legal stuff. Or, flipping it around, someone moving to the U.S. might need their foreign license authenticated and translated.
Ah, right.
To prove their driving qualifications here, maybe to avoid starting the whole licensing process from scratch. USCIS, for instance, sometimes asks for things like certified translations or authenticated copies of foreign documents, like life visas for immigration cases.
So it's less about the driving skill and more about the license as a trusted piece of government ID, essentially. And the apostille is that extra layer of trust needed across borders.
You've got it. It's about that international validation of the document itself.
Okay, so if I find myself needing that, how do I actually get an apostille? You can't just, stamp the plastic card, right?
Hey, no, definitely not. The apostille isn't put on the original license. It has to be attached to a certified copy of the license.
A certified copy. Okay, where do I get that?
Usually the Massachusetts RMV can provide one. That's what the sources suggest. Or sometimes a properly authorized notary public might be able to certify a copy.
Okay, RMV or maybe a specific notary.
Right, and once you have that certified copy, that's the document you take or send to the Massachusetts Secretary of the Commonwealth's office. They're the ones who issue the apostille.
Okay, certified copy first, then Secretary of the Commonwealth for the apostille. That sounds like multiple steps.
It is.
And I can imagine trying to figure out exactly what kind of copy is needed, getting it, dealing with state offices, maybe needing translations too, especially if you're, already overseas or juggling a move. It sounds like it could get pretty complicated and time consuming.
Oh, absolutely. It can be a real hurdle. Knowing the exact requirements, avoiding mistakes, the time spent dealing with agencies, it adds up, especially when you've got deadlines or travel plans.
Yeah, this really feels like one of those areas where getting some expert help could save you a massive headache, not just time.
I think so. And conveniently, our sources do point to services that exist specifically for this. For folks in Massachusetts needing state documents like licenses apostilled or even federal documents, they mention MassachusettsApostilleServices.com.
Okay, so they specialize in this exact kind of thing for Massachusetts documents.
Seems like it. The sources say they have a deep understanding of international document use regulations. It sounds like they know the ins and outs, how to prep the documents correctly, what pitfalls to avoid, how to deal with the Secretary's office efficiently.
How do they actually help someone, practically speaking?
Well, they basically guide you and handle the legwork. They can help make sure you have the right kind of certified copy, and then they manage the submission process for you. The big benefit highlighted is saving you time and stress, aiming for a hassle-free experience, as one source puts it.
That sounds pretty valuable.
Yeah.
And you mentioned federal documents, too.
Yes, the sources indicate they handle both state-issued docs, like the driver's license, and also federal ones that might need authentication for international use. Think things like FBI background checks, maybe other federal records needed for immigration or work abroad.
And wasn't there something about translations mentioned, too?
Yeah.
That seems crucial if the document is going to a non-English speaking country.
Yeah, good point. They mention a related service, translatedpage.com, for certified translation services. Often, foreign authorities need both the apostille and a certified translation into their language.
Right.
So using link services could definitely streamline things, getting the authentication and the translation sorted in one place.
Okay, so they cover the apostille, maybe federal docs, and translations. How does someone actually connect with them?
The sources give a few options. There's a phone number, 978-424-4629. You can apparently book services online through their website, and interestingly, they have a physical office.
No, a walk-in place in this day and age.
Yeah, it's listed at 1215 Main St., Suite 115 in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. So you could potentially do face-to-face consultations, drop off documents. It seems to fit with their emphasis on reliability.
That physical presence is notable.
It is, and the sources describe their service using terms like swift, reliable, beacon of efficiency, accuracy, and speed, fast and reliable, quick processing times, and prompt delivery. So they're clearly focused on getting it done correctly and quickly for you.
Okay, let's wrap this up. The takeaway seems to be, if you're dealing with international requirements, your U.S. passport is usually straightforward. But if you need to use your Massachusetts driver's license for official purposes abroad, things beyond just driving, like residency, banking, legal matters, maybe even proving driving history for USCIS or similar.
Right.
Then you'll likely need a certified copy first, and then an apostille from the Secretary of the Commonwealth.
That's the core process.
And given the potential complexity, services like MassachusettsApostilleServices.com, along with their translation partner, Translated.page.com, exist specifically to manage that whole authentication and translation process for you, aiming for speed and accuracy.
Exactly. They're positioned as the experts to turn that potential bureaucratic headache into just another checked box on your international to-do list.
This has been really helpful, drilling down into the nitty-gritty of document authentication. It highlights that difference between universally accepted docs like passports and state-level ones like driver's licenses, needing extra validation for serious international use.
It really does. And, stepping back, it's kind of fascinating, isn't it? The very existence of these processes, that the need for certified copies for apostilles just to make a common document like a driver's license trustworthy across borders, it says a lot about how international recognition and trust actually work at a fundamental level. Even with global connections, formally proving who you are or what you're qualified for in a new country still relies on these very specific, sometimes intricate bureaucratic stamps of approval. It makes you think about what official proof really means when you cross a border.
That's a great point to ponder, a reminder that establishing yourself internationally often involves navigating these very specific systems of trust. Well, if this is something you're facing, hopefully this deep dive has given you some clarity and pointed you towards some helpful resources.